Okay, I'm going to take a question which was written in German. I will translate. Uli, this is the question from Hannah. She asked, how can I make my partner believe, understand that my perception is not on the same level as his? That I cannot be bothered by his? And I'm asking for compassion, but I'm not being taken seriously. But this can also be in all other human encounter. Now, this is something of the most difficult, actually, in human relationships. When one begins to realize that perception is a completely subjective phenomenon. That does not mean that the world around us is also aware of just how subjective perception is. We are sitting here in a room where everyone would feel, according to my opinion, this is very hot. Yeah? There could be a person feeling shiveringly cold in here. Just this is on the physical level. Now you come into a place and you feel it's very agreeable. Another person might feel it's very disagreeable and wants to get out immediately. It's your preferred restaurant, but the other person wants to get out immediately. Just to give very simple examples. You hear one thing, the other person does not hear that. Hears it differently. And you can, please, Hannah, continue to ask your partner for that understanding that you are actually living somehow in different worlds of perception and that you're trying to bridge that. And this bridge between two worlds of subjective perception can only happen if everyone allows the other person to perceive it differently. So what I found out is that I have to relax the wish that the other person perceives the world with my eyes, with my ears, with my heart, with my understanding. Okay, that's very difficult because somehow many people, many groups, in every partnership, you have these unspoken assumptions that is somehow an objective reality. And usually the person talking feels, I have more of that, I see more of that objective reality than you. So please adjust to my way of seeing. Mine is a little bit more objective. It's only later, when with a lot of distance, that sometimes one wakes up and thinks, wow, fortunately I didn't insist so much because I was very much in a clouded perception. So, Anna, just continue like that, in a very relaxed way, inviting that understanding how different your different emotional veils, each one is perceiving the situation. None of them is better. This is very important. None of the perceptions is better. None of them is more true. They're just different. And if you love each other, you try to understand each other. That's what love really means. It's the capacity to feel into that other world of perception and then to support in that world how to find into more openness and freedom. So, then Arthur from Brazil. Hi Arthur, you want me to tell more about space. How can contemplating on the space between things, like material objects for example, bring non-conceptual realizations? Wow Arthur, you are going strong there. No, this was not the idea that it will bring non-conceptual realizations. Well, it might, but it was an example of how it works. Now, Arthur, I'm going to explain you a practice from the Mahamudra transmission connected to space. So it's one of the things we do in retreat. Can you give me please 2 books? We place 2 objects and we meditate on the space between 2 objects in front of us. So this space in between becomes the focus point. Yeah? Now you're all reading the titles. You should not read the titles. You see, if you were reading the titles, you were not with the space, you were with the object. Now, okay, nothing behind. There's nothing important behind. So you learn, actually, by placing 2 objects in front of you, 2 glasses, something which is not very special, you learn to meditate on what is in between, on what is non-defined. And you're not meditating on what you see behind in that space. And this is an interesting thing because normally we meditate on the object. We focus, for example, on the tip of a needle or of a ballpoint. Then we take 2 of them and we meditate on the space in between. Our visual awareness goes in the space in between and is not focusing on what is behind. Then we enlarge that. We take, for example, okay, now I will try to get something which you can see on the screen. You meditate on the space from the picture down to my shoulder. You purposely don't meditate on what you see as objects, but on the space, this empty, whitish space, where there is nothing in particular. And you learn to rest your visual awareness there without choosing, and just resting. So after you develop the capacity to settle in the awareness of nothing in particular. Learning to settle without a focus on objects. And this you extend then, for example, you can do this now, to the whole visual field, the space which opens to your whole visual field. Or in the Mahamudra teachings, there's often the talking about you settle on the whole valley in front of you, looking down from a mountain. Or you lie back on your back and you look into the sky, you settle with the awareness of the sky, and there's only a few trees on the edge of the visual field, so the space in between, all of that. And this is a good exercise to loosen the attention to characteristics. We learn to abide calmly without needing a focus on characteristics. Very important exercise, and it will help you to notice the space between thoughts, to notice the space between different mental impulses, to notice, actually later on you will notice that the space does not even disappear as an impulse arises. You notice that there's actually a spacious quality within the thinking process, within the emotional process. So the understandings, the so-called realizations, they continue. And space, the word space, is here only a metaphor for that ungraspable quality of experience, similar to space. All-pervading, yet ungraspable, just like space. Okay, that's how one would actually be able to use that instruction in one's meditation. And I advise you to actually do it. I was doing it a lot. Meditating on the space between the leaves of a tree. Meditating on the space between different plants in front of my eyes. Meditating on the space of the window. Just not looking outside, just the spacious light appearance within the frame of the window, and so on. And then you go to visualize space. Then you can meditate. Genyo Rinpoche was telling us, for example, you meditate, you are in a room, and you imagine that the room has no roof, but you don't look upwards. You just imagine that somehow the walls drop away and the ceiling drops, is gone. So you're out in open space. Below you don't take care, you still feel that you have some support. Later on you can also drop that. And then you understand that the experience of space is a mental phenomenon. It does not have to do with what you see. It's actually an experience of complete openness. And that leads you closer and closer to Mahamudra. It's the experience of a vast, unlimited, dynamic mind in which everything is possible, like in the outer space of the universe. So, like this you can do it. Okay, here I see in between the chat with Elena, she takes the blame that you could only send to the host, that were the settings. Sorry, we take the blame that you could only have the possibility to chat with Elena. Actually, she got it all. So now the settings are different. And there's a last question from Ellen, which is a question about how can I take the sadness due to the death of my son into my practice without being overwhelmed by tears. Dear Ellen, I'm very, very sorry to read that, to hear that. It's the most difficult that can happen usually, that a mother loses the child. So my first impulse is, if you need deeper help with that, then let's make for a private meeting by Skype, and so that I can help you in that difficult situation, because my wish is not that you need to do away with the tears. The tears are normal, they can come and you are overwhelmed, but perhaps you feel that you have been crying so much for so many months, I don't know how long it is, that you wish to find ways to work with that sadness in a different way. And of course there are ways, yes. But first, before I talk about these possibilities, I have to acknowledge that it is a very normal human feeling that you're so sad to have lost your son. Now here we are in a Mahamudra teaching situation. As a Mahamudra practitioner, I would let the sadness come. I would think of the son that I have lost, let the sadness arise, and look into the nature of these sad feelings, of this overwhelming sadness. That would be the direct approach of Mahamudra. And you might be able to see that the moment you turn towards what you feel the center of your sadness, that you can't find it. That would be a moment of insight into the ungraspable nature of sadness. So, definitely that would be the ultimate approach, and there's many other ways of dealing with that. Of course, you know about the staying with the gratitude of having had the son, the gratitude of having been a mother, and so on. There's many possibilities of where to direct your awareness on a more relative level. But the supreme approach is to not be afraid of sadness overwhelming you, to let it come. It won't kill you, it hasn't killed you so far. To let it come and to look into its true nature. And you might discover that it is actually as spacious as all of what we have been talking about before. Okay, I think I have been answering all the questions that I saw in the main chat. So I will give you a little bit more structured meditation instruction now. Let's meditate together. Let's use the rest of the time for some practical meditation in the tradition of Mahamudra. As you see, I have straightened up a little. It helps. The idea is that we are so straight that we feel it enhances our clarity, it enhances our presence. If you can feel a certain well-being or clarity due to entering a less conceptual state of mind now, then the Mahamudra instruction would be to look into the very nature of that well-being or clarity. And thus relax all grasping, but you can also just simply directly relax into just how it is. To open up into just how it is. without trying anything special. This would be the direct way into meditation. You might feel, as I say, to open up to just how it is, that one needs to let go of some resistances towards just how it is now. How the body feels, the sounds, the light. Our own mind. To relax those resistances also means to relax the wish that it may be different. And perhaps you notice that your eyes are resting somewhere in the space between two objects or in the space of visual perception. Perhaps the hearing is more tuned in to the spaciousness of the hearing experience than the individual sounds. Perhaps you notice that there is a spaciousness of allowing for physical feelings, physical sensations, without zooming into any of them in particular. Maybe there is a subtle awareness of just how spacious mind is, awareness is, allowing for all experiences to arise. And, so to speak, evaporate, dissolve as they arise. Okay, thank you very, very much for this short meditation. We are in many different life situations as we join from different countries this teaching. My wish is that you could join your whatever you're doing today with as much awareness as possible. So, if you are in retreat, you can enhance your awareness by a very relaxed practice with occasionally bringing in focus, really meditating in a precise way, precise mindfulness, not letting the mind wander. You do this for a short period of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Then you go again more to a relaxed approach. So you change, you alternate between focus practice and relaxed practice. As we relax, we notice that the benefits of the focus, of the undistracted mindfulness, they follow us in the distraction, in the relaxation, until, because of relaxing so much, distraction comes again. Mind begins to wander. Now, as the mind begins to wander, don't interfere right away. Don't think this is wrong. There is the possibility to give space to that activity of mind and to see, by just giving space and not clinging to the contents of the thinking, the wandering subsides. So that would be one of the Mahamudra approaches. The first one is classical. Focus, for example, on the experience of breathing in, breathing out, wherever you want to keep that focus. Can be a whole body focus, can be at the tip of the nose, can be in the belly. Do that very precisely until you have some benefit of that. Then relax. This is like relaxing here means no more task. You don't give a task to the mind. And then actually the mind enjoys this very much. We enjoy very much to be relaxed without a task. And then, as the first thinking processes arise, then most meditators would think that now they have to focus again. But here the Mahamudra tradition is a little different. We suggest, just because some thinking arises, don't start to worry. Give more space. Relax more. Actually, this thinking which begins again is the sign of tension. So open more. And this is where the image of space comes in. Like open more. Become like the sky. Which the sky doesn't bother whether there are some clouds, some whatever, lightnings, thunder, all of that is fine. Space is just open. And in that way, you find out about a new way of developing a calm mind without effort, by simply opening more, which includes to let go of the fascination inherent in the thinking process or stimulating the thinking process. So that one needs to let go of. the preoccupation with the contents of what one is thinking. That is a must. No one gets around that. For as long as we are clinging to the contents of our thoughts, we will think. That's for sure. Now then, this opening, usually also you will find that after the short while, because our mind is not used to opening so much, again it will grasp, again it will enter chains of thinking, then it's time to focus again. Or to make a full pause, to do some walking meditation, and to use other means of keeping the awareness. With the walking meditation, for example, we have the possibility that the movement, which is a changing sensory experience, helps us to remain now, aware of what's happening now. It helps because it's a strong sensory input. And for those who are working now, who need to spend some of their time, most of their time, with the habitual tasks of earning money. Many of you are on the computer, some of you are teaching, some of you are selling products, and so on. You have different jobs. Then bring that spaciousness with you, that awareness, and allow yourself little breaks, little pauses, tiny pauses in between of remembering the practice, as often as possible. Not too often, not every minute, but why not every 10 minutes, a little breathing in, breathing out. And only then continuing. When we talk with a person, let the person talk, listen to the person, but do your awareness practice while the other person continues the conversation. You won't forget what the person is saying, but you connect back to that relaxed and open awareness. So do that as often as possible in activity. And here in our house, in Grüner Baum, in Ekayana, we have both. We have the possibility to meditate, possibility to have conversations, to interact, working. So there's many different types of practice. Okay, let's meditate for some final minutes before we say goodbye. Now I'm silent. It's not the microphone which is not working. Yes, I'm very happy if you switch on your video in these last minutes so that we can actually see that how we are meditating together. So thank you very much again. I wish you a wonderful continuation of your practice. It's nice to see now all your faces and see who has been on, who has been sharing with us. It's wonderful. Maybe tomorrow we will follow a similar pattern. I'm not sure how I will do, but it could be like today, that in the first half I will give a structured teaching, and in the second half I will answer your questions and we will meditate more together. It could be like that. Yes? So, wish you all good continued practice. And be very relaxed. That means enjoy yourself. Never make practice into something like a task. Practice, what we call practice, is becoming familiar with just how simple it is to be. Becoming familiar with just how we have to do nothing, because mind is aware by itself, appearances appear by themselves, and they dissolve by themselves. There's nothing to do. So that simplicity, may that be your how you say, may that be a blessing for tonight or for Brazil for the second half of the day. And let's meet again tomorrow, if possible. Let's dedicate together. Sunam de tam jeze pane tam ne pejanam pam jene kengana chim balam jompaye simpen solendro wadra shon chambem pavon jita kempana gundo zampo de yande shinte Denda kunjin jesu and alonjeng kewan denda damjelam dungo sangye kosom nembenjen lamdan jenem enjoen dembenjen lamdan Gendeng menjen dembenjen lam jin jendang owamen lam dom baijo. As I see your faces on the screen in front of me, I realize how much I miss the meetings with you. I guess this is probably also from your side, but it feels like, wow, it's been long for most of us that we haven't hugged and haven't seen each other and haven't shared in the same room. So let's live it for as long as it needs to be lived, but I make prayers that times change very soon.